Hello, and welcome back to Coffee and Kale. My name is Nicole, and today we are joined by Sam Khazai of Fulcrum Properties.
That's right.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Nicole.
Yes.
I'm excited to be here.
I am excited for this conversation. We have had such great times leading up to this. I'm excited for you guys to witness this. So, Sam is with Fulcrum Properties, and at the time of this recording, we're in challenging interest rate waters, choppy interest rate waters, I would say.
Absolutely.
So let's start actually by jumping right in the deep end. How are you helping your buyers or your clients through the decision-making process when interest rates are at historic highs?
Sure. That's a great question, and it's obviously a very poignant and prescient one. And it's a conversation I've been having with a lot of clients recently. At the end of the day, this is such a personal and particular question from client to client. And what really matters is if they can be comfortable with the monthly payment.
Sure.
And what we need to remember is that no market is ideal, right? Every market poses certain challenges. When rates were sub 3%, there were multiple offers. There were 10, 12 offers on every single listing. And I felt like the market was moving a little bit too quickly, that sellers had too much of an upper hand, that it was not balanced, and that buyers weren't making this really important financial decision with the full spectrum of dignity that it takes to do this. And what I mean by that is that often people were having to make offers that were escalating way over asking price. And they would have to waive a lot of their protections. So the way that I'm talking about it with my clients is I say, listen, take a $500,000 property today. A year ago, that property would probably get multiple offers and escalate closer to $600,000. And you would have to waive all of your contingencies, no appraisal, no home inspection, no financing contingency. And it's scary to do that. And sometimes people look back and they regret doing that because the HVAC unit falls or there's a shoddy roof. Today, you could probably get that same listing a little bit under asking price. You can keep those protections in place. And as long as the down payment is something that you can work with and the monthly payments make sense to you, it's just a more dignified process.
So you're capturing it in the context of the current market. So that market a year ago when prices were, I think DC hit the national news for how much over asking properties were going.
It's crazy.
Yes, rates were very low, but you were paying for that in the sales price. Now it sounds like you're experiencing where the sales prices are still rising. It's DC.
Sure.
But you have a bit more, I like your term, dignity in the buying process because it's leveling the playing field out where the sellers don't have all the power.
Yeah. It's using the current market metrics to find your point of leverage. And where buyers are losing leverage is that rates are close to 8% these days. So the cost of borrowing money is so much higher. But where they have more leverage is they can negotiate on price, they can negotiate on terms, and they can buy with a little bit more peace of mind than they had in previous markets, I think.
What about your sellers? Do you work with sellers very often? And how are you helping set their expectations in this market?
Yeah, I love that question. I do. I currently have 4 listings that are active, a couple that are under contract, one that just closed on Friday. And what I tell them is that it's more important now than ever before to price your properties appropriately. Because buyers are super savvy. It's their money. It's their money that they're borrowing from the bank and that they're spending. So they are going to be much more particular about the product that they're purchasing. And this is not the market to overprice. Your house will sit. You'll lose that really, really important first 2 weeks where there's a lot of traffic. And it will kind of, your property will kind of have a scarlet letter. People will start wondering, why is it sitting? My clients who have listened to me have gone under contract really quickly. And
those that have listened?
Those that have listened. Let that be a warning to you, sellers. Your days of strong-arming buyers is over. And those that haven't, that still have this backwards notion of where the market is, and I feel for them. Some people are like, hey, I know that a year ago I could have gotten $1 million for my property. Well, you can't today. It's probably worth $850, $900. So either rent it out, stay there, or, you know, suck it up and you know, people have, like the other side of this, Nicole, is that people have appreciated or benefited from this insane appreciation.
Yeah.
Like what you were talking about at the outset of the conversation, some of their homes and properties have appreciated 10, 12, 15, 20% year over year. So recently I sat down with a client and I said, you bought this house 8 years ago for $500,000. It's worth close to $1 million. But is it really going to kill you if you sell it for $899 instead of $950? You still have made $400,000 in equity.
Okay.
So it's our job as real estate professionals is to provide context, to advise, and just you know kind of provide them, you know, the runway of what it looks like.
Yeah, so that actually nicely sets up my next question, which is, how are you helping people kind of quantify equity in their minds, right? So if you're going in as a buyer, yes, you're going in at a rate that's slightly higher than it would have been a year ago, 2 years ago. We can talk about historic rates, and there are two sides of that coin. But when you're looking at equity, do you have people look at the long game? Is it, how long do you need to be here? How do you plan to leverage your equity? What kinds of conversations are you having specifically related to the equity in a property when they're going to buy?
I love this question.
Yeah.
Because I think the most important, one of the most exciting parts of real estate is building equity, building financial freedom, building generational wealth.
Yes.
So
the words out of my mouth. Generational wealth. Yes, go ahead.
Right? I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
There are a couple ways to think about this. You can either, like a property as an investor, or someone who's thinking on the financial side of it, properties often cash flow or they appreciate. It's very uncommon to find a property in a region, in a market that can do both.
Sure.
And what I mean by that is, if you buy in middle America, you probably have a lower purchase price, your mortgage will be very low, and you can rent that house for a few $100s more than your mortgage. But it may not appreciate a whole lot. I know in small town America, I'm from the Midwest myself.
Me too, I'm from Denver. Where are you from?
You're from Denver?
Yeah.
I'm from Madison, Wisconsin.
Born and raised, really? Yeah. I love that. I don't hear a Wisconsin accent.
I've been away for a while.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought. Please,
no, we can talk about Denver and Mile High and all that. But in the Midwest and kind of middle America, you might be able to cash flow a few $100s a door, right? A property. But you know that place that you buy for $300,000 in 10 years might be worth $310, $315.
Right.
In DC, because the purchase price in this DMV area is so high, it's going to be difficult to cash flow because finding folks that can afford a rent that's that high, they will probably be buying.
That's right.
Maybe not in today's market, but in 3 or 4 years, 5 years, your property can appreciate much greater than it can. So it's having that conversation, asking the particular individual, client, friend, customer, what is it that you're looking for, and just being a good, advisor.
Yeah. The nice thing about the DC metro area is that it seems to always be rising. I mean, there are statistics out there that say in rolling 7-year time frames, properties appreciate overall in DC. Specifically, I don't know about Maryland and Virginia, but to your point, what is the long game? Is this a 5-year house? Is this a 15-year house? And really helping them categorize it in that way. Okay, so when you're dealing with buyers or sellers, you can pick which way to answer this question. What do you see the biggest mistakes? What mistakes are they repeatedly making?
Cool. I think the first big mistake is not talking to a lender ahead of time.
Up front.
Right?
I did not plant that. I did not. Yes, go ahead.
No, absolutely. And oftentimes I won't even put a person in my car and take them out to show them places until they've obtained a pre-approval letter or at least had that initial conversation. Because there's two things. One, people's idea of what their budget is or what they'll qualify for is often inaccurate. And someone will tell me, hey, I know I'm good for $800,000. And we'll go out and look at a bunch of properties. And then it comes time to submit an offer. You connect them with a lender and, they either find something on their credit report or they realize that they have, this outstanding
tax returns are usually where I find my approvals are different from what they were expecting. Please.
And all of a sudden, they don't qualify for that home. And then it's just a little disappointing. If you take somebody out to look at $1 million homes and then you have to take them out to look at, significantly less than that, it just takes the fun out of it a little bit. So The first thing is making sure that they've spoken to a good lender ahead of time.
Okay.
Secondly, I really want them to start dialing in and find clarity about what they want.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Some folks will say, I either want a condo in Columbia Heights, a row house on the hill, or an industrial loft in Union Market.
Okay.
That's fine. We can go look at all three, but at some point we need to dial in and stop playing Goldilocks.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
How do you help people do that? I've seen agents use needs and wants sheets. I've seen people do like an Instagram, I don't know, lookbook.
Like a Pinterest thing?
Yeah, like a Pinterest thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just aged myself.
But I knew exactly what you were talking, so I'm right there with you. How do you help them? Because I find, at least with my clients, sometimes it's like a shotgun effect. I say, hey, you're approved for $500,000. Well, that takes you all over the map, from a single family house in Maryland to a condo downtown in DC. And after 3 or 4 months of, well, maybe not that long, after a couple months of talking, they're still kind of all over the board.
Yeah.
How do you help them hone in on that?
Well, the first thing I do is make myself very available and very flexible at the outset, right? So the first couple days of showings, we'll go see 6 properties. I want to see 1 or 2 of each type of property.
Okay.
I take them to different neighborhoods, you know, but at some point you have to start distilling what it is that you want. Yeah. So we'll go look at all that stuff. And people may think, because a lot of folks are now on Zillow and Redfin, so, you know, when the rubber hits the road and you pound the pavement, all of a sudden you walk into a neighborhood and you're like, you know what? I don't like Georgetown as much as I did. It's walkable, but it's very inconvenient. Or, you know, Trinidad, I can get so much more for my money than I thought, and I really do want that, and that's valuable to me. But I don't let that go on indefinitely. Time is money for me and for them. So eventually I start, you know, curating the types of showings and properties, you know, that I make available to them.
So as a buyer's agent, timing, how long does it take roughly from the time that you have a good, solid, pre-qualified client to closing?
I mean, that's so specific.
Yeah.
I've had, we had a good friend of ours, Andrew, that we run with. And I get these messages often on the first, second, third of the month, where someone will message me. They'll send me a message on Instagram. You're always welcome to message me on Instagram.
We'll make sure
at Khazai.
Please say it again. I don't want to step on
at Khazai. No, we'll drop it. And I get these DMs on the first of the month that are like, I'm tired of paying rent. Like, I want to buy a condo. I want to buy a place. With him, we were under contract within 7 days of that message.
Okay.
I connected him with a lender. He had a pre-approval in 24 hours.
Yeah.
We went out. The first day we went out, I had 5 showings lined up. The third place, he was like, this is it. I forced him to go to the other 2 condos.
Okay.
And he was still like, I want that third place. So we were under contract. And other times, it feels like people are still in window shopping mode, you know, and I understand, like, it's a big purchase, right? You are signing on the dotted line and committing to something for a long time. But I like to meet people at a point in the process where, I mean, I like to meet people at any point. You know, I love having these initial conversations. I do a lot of these, like, hey, let's just like talk about how to set yourself up, best practices for when, you know, so when it comes time to buy, you know, you have enough down payment, you understand a little bit about closing costs. We've cleared up your credit report and all that, taxes are filed. But the typical, you know, is like 1 to 3 months. Okay.
And I imagine the mortgage loan officer can help with that too, because your pre-approval has an expiration date on it, and that pre-approval expiration date comes with an interest rate expiration date as well. What would you like for people to know that are brand new to the DC, Maryland, and Virginia real estate market, are kind of maybe from Midwest where we're from, where things move generally a little bit slower, but here I know properties come on the market and go off very fast. Appreciation is always moving. What do you tell brand new people fresh into the city that are looking to get into the real estate market? How do you set their expectation?
First of all, I tell them that they're really lucky. We're really lucky to live in such a vibrant, infrastructure-rich, population-dense area. I often talk about DC as a city that punches above its weight in terms of, it feels like a much bigger city, right? Like the DMV is about 1 million people, but we feel like a much bigger city because of our access to museums, restaurants, nightlife, dining, And it's just such an amazing, vibrant city and place to be. And second, I tell them this is not an easy market, you know? Like, I often talk about the home buying process as an atmospheric process.
Okay, what do you mean?
And what I mean by that is, like, imagine a space shuttle going into outer space.
Yeah.
When it's going through the atmosphere, everything's shaking.
Yeah.
It's scary as crap.
Got it.
And you don't, you know, you're hanging on for dear life. But as soon as you get on the other side of that, you get to start taking advantage of the benefits of home ownership, appreciation, creating your own space, having a monthly payment that's not going to increase, and you know, something that you have ownership of. And I like to tell them, listen, it may not be easy, but it's worth it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else you would like the audience to leave with that we haven't specifically touched on?
You've asked such amazing questions. I mean, I think the last thing that I would want to say is that, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this.
Sure.
One of my favorite parts of working in real estate is that we get to meet people at such an exciting, optimistic time in their life, right? They are living up to the best versions of themselves. They are literally making an investment in their future selves, their future families. And I just want them to know that, you know, all these doomsday headlines about interest rates and about how tough the market is, it's still so inspiring to me to meet people, to be able to advise them, to cheerlead them, and to kind of guide them along this process. And, you know, when you do kind of make the decision that you want to start it, it's like this magical thing where you start clearing up, you know, so many other areas of your life.
Things just become clear. It's like the seas part.
Yeah.
And, you know, I enjoy about the real estate and the finance piece of this market. The thing I enjoy the most is helping people see the future successful version of themselves, right? Once you own a piece of property somewhere, you have a different tethering to the neighborhood, the schools, the community events, picking up trash as you come and go, and I feel like that builds a better community overall.
Yeah.
So not only is it fun, I'm buying something that is going to be around for a while. One, it's fun, and it's exciting to be with people when they're excited, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But you're helping them build generational wealth, and they don't have to do much. Keep it up, keep it maintained. You can click around and see all the suggestions from our homeowner, what's the gentleman the home inspector. Home inspectors will tell us how to maintain things, but you get to see you can build wealth in just owning this and allowing the property to appreciate. That gives you access to so much more. Yeah.
I mean, there's a notion, you know, that people say almost flippantly. They say everyone is paying a mortgage. You're either paying your own mortgage or you're paying someone else's.
Heard that.
And that's not to say that it's always the right time to buy. I think if you're not going to live in a place for more than 2 years, it doesn't make sense to buy. I think if you, haven't had a chance to really deliberate on what your wants and needs and your wish list is, it's not the right time to buy. But once you've done those things, I think it's a really exciting process. And like we said, it's a path to financial freedom and generational wealth and, you know, better times.
Absolutely. So the name of this podcast is Coffee and Kale. Because those are the two things that keep me going. Coffee in the morning, kale at some point during the day. What about you? 1, 2 handful of things that keep you putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. I think the first thing is exactly what I said. It's, we're all human beings in this world, and this world can be tough, and it can be a grind. I like the fact that I get to meet people at a time when they're asking the most beautiful questions, right? Like they're asking the most of themselves, and it keeps me pushing because my clients are working hard. Like, this isn't an automatic process. They're working hard to get to the other side of home ownership, and it drives me. So I think that's the first thing. The other thing that keeps me going is that I believe that every single person has a superpower. And I don't believe that you get to pick what your superpower is. I believe that the universe decides for you. And for whatever reason, the universe has guided me to this thing. Maybe it's my background in construction or finance or acting or whatever, but my superpower is being able to like guide folks through this process and help them buy and sell real estate, and it's a really rewarding and fulfilling kind of place to be in
Great.
life.
Thank you for sharing that superpower with us here today.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's been wonderful.
Thank you all for joining us. Please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. We will have all of Sam's contact information down below so you can find him for DC, Maryland, or Virginia real estate. DC and Virginia.
That's right.
DC and Virginia real estate. Do we want to put where they can find you on the IMDb rolls as well?
Reach out to me. I'll share my fun little reels.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.